Good morning. Today is 4 May, the year 2023. I'm Dr. Dave Thompson, a volunteer at the Palm Springs Air Museum in Palm Springs, California. As part of the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., we conduct interviews of veterans and civilians who participated in our country's military conflicts. Today I'm here with fellow volunteer Diane Thompson and Captain Gary Luders. And today we have the honor and the privilege of hearing the story of Captain Mike Laughlin. Captain Laughlin was an F-4 Phantom II pilot at Ubon in Thailand, flying missions to Vietnam. I neglected to also mention a special guest, Lynn Laughlin. I'd be in big trouble if I forgot that, I know. And Mike even more so, most likely. But anyhow, Captain, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gary? Yep.
Okay, Mike, first of all, would you please state and spell your full name?
It's Michael Huff Laughlin. It's M-I-C-H-A-E-L, capital H-U-F-F, Laughlin, L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N.
And is Huff, is that a family name? Or?
That's my grandfather's name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And where were you born?
Born in Astoria, Oregon.
And when was that? What year?
March 27, 1941.
Okay, making you how many years young?
Well, I just turned 82.
Okay, good for you. Astoria, where is that?
Astoria is at the mouth of the Columbia River, right at the northwest corner of Oregon.
Oh yeah, okay. And how large was it then, and how large is it now, would you say?
Well, I was pretty young when I was there, so I don't have much history on it. But
okay.
I think it's probably hasn't changed a lot in population since 1941. It's a fishing community, and the fishing has reduced in size, so that's no longer important for that.
1941, that's kind of a special year. December 7th. What did your father, was he in the military?
My father grew up in Astoria, and he and his brother owned a frozen food locker plant. There was a new technology of being able to freeze food, and as a result, he was classified as critical for providing food and service to the community, and was not able to serve in World War II. However, he did serve in the Coast Guard there in Astoria for like 3 years.
During
the World War.
So he could stay there and work and do that.
Yeah.
And so, what's his name?
Lyle Lee Laughlin.
Okay. And how did he end up in Astoria? Where in the old country? Where did the folks come from?
Well, my dad was born in Grays Harbor, which is a small community on the north side of the Columbia River in the state of Washington. And my grandfather was had a small dairy farm, and he, as a result of their difficulties in marketing their milk, he started a dairy co-op, and ultimately moved probably in about 1920, moved to Astoria, and started what was called the Lower Columbia Dairy. Now has Dairy Gold Farms on it, so that's
wow.
And he managed that from the time he formed it until he retired in the 50s.
Is it still in the family?
It's not. It's a co-op, and it was owned by all the dairymen.
Oh, okay.
And so he was just one of the owners. Yep.
Now, Laughlin sounds like an Irish name. Am I correct?
It is not. No,
it's not.
no, it's definitely not. It's Scottish.
Oh, okay.
And we, my ancestor, John, the most immediate ancestor who came to the United States was John Laughlin in about 1750. The family lived originally in the South Carolina area, ultimately moved to St. Louis, Missouri, and in 1947, my grandfather, who was 18 at the time, and my great grandfather, who was 18 at the time, came by wagon train to Oregon.
1847.
1847.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Wasn't in the Donner Group, apparently.
Well, fortunately not. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, the story is that my great grandfather, floating down the river on his 18th birthday, in 1847.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your mom, what was her name and her maiden name?
My mother, Marion Eleanor Huff, was her last name, her maiden name. My grandfather grew up in Iowa. She was born in Iowa, and they moved to Portland, Oregon. My grandfather was an electrician, and he ended up working on. He moved to Portland during the war to work on the construction of aircraft in the Portland area.
And where did they meet? And
They ended up my mother and father met in Astoria, or actually at Oregon State.
oh, okay.
They were my mother lived in Portland at the time. My father went to Oregon State to college, and they met in college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And her ancestors, what in the old country, where did they come from?
They were of primarily of English background. I've got some information on them, but it's pretty minimal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had a sister who was 3 years younger than I.
Mm-hmm.
She passed away about 8 years ago.
And what was her name?
Jane Lee Laughlin, and her married name was Jane Atkins. And they lived in Las Vegas. Had 3 children.
Any other siblings?
No, that's all. Just
Okay.
one sister.
One
Yeah.
sister. Which is 3 years younger than you?
That's right.
Okay. So when did you leave Astoria?
I left Astoria in 1943, 44.
So you were 2 or 3 years
I was
old?
like 4. I think I was 4 years old, so probably about 45, and maybe at the end of the war. I'm not quite positive, sure of that, but my parents moved to Astoria, or to Ephrata, Washington, where my dad worked had a freight company and they started a freight company with the purpose of hauling concrete to build the Grand Coulee Dam.
Really?
Yeah.
So obvious must be close to where the dam is, correct?
Ephrata is south of the Grand Coulee, about 50 miles, 60 miles, and but it was near the primary railroad access for distribution of.
And that was quite a feat to build that dam, was it not correct back in those days?
Well, it was, yes, it was. I think that was probably by far the largest dam built at the time, and it was a major undertaking to harness the Columbia River and to develop that dam.
Was your family very religious? Did you guys go to church a lot?
No, not a lot. We did as a young person. I did attend church regularly and was active in the Methodist church and youth groups. And my dad sang in the church choir, but we weren't extremely religious. And the primary reason, I think, I shouldn't say we weren't religious. I would say we didn't go to church a lot because my dad ended up in the golf business, and when you're in the golf business, you got to work when everybody else plays.
Right. You were pretty young, so you may not have any memories at all, but do you have any memories of World War II when you were a kid?
Not at all. Okay. Nothing that I can recall at all.
Yeah. Okay. Did you, your family talk much about it, or did?
No, since my dad did serve in World War II, actively serve overseas, I don't think it became it wasn't a major factor in our life. Right. So, yeah. While it was obviously very important to us, it wasn't something that affected our daily lives.
So when you, what's the name of that town again that you moved to?
Ephrata.
Ephrata. Yeah. How do you spell that?
Ephrata.
Does that mean something? Is that a?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did you? I'm sure you made a lot of good friends and stuff when you went there. Where did you live? Do you live right in the town, or?
We lived right in town and moved. We probably lived in 3 different houses.
Okay. How large was the town then and now?
About 5,000 people, and it grew up to it actually grew in size up to about 8,000 to 10,000, and now it's back to about 5,000. So it's.
Did building the dam bring a lot of people in?
It did. The dam affected and then the growth of the agriculture in the area helped it with the additional water source that they had. And ultimately, there's tremendous irrigation systems that developed out of that.
What did your kids do for fun when you were growing up?
Well, I think probably like most kids, we played baseball during baseball season and football and in the heat of the summer we were at the swimming pool all day, so had to mow a few lawns, but other than that it was pretty much all play.
How far from the river did you live?
We were along Ephrata's probably close to 50 miles away from the Columbia River, okay. So we weren't near the river at all. We were closest body of water was Soap Lake.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, but they did have swimming pools. Did you do any hunting?
No. We didn't do any hunting. I think my dad occasionally did some duck hunting and hunted for geese in the potholes in Washington, but that's all.
And where'd you go to grade school?
I went to grade school in Ephrata. I went to we lived in Ephrata until I was in the 5th grade, and following the 5th grade, we moved to Seattle, Washington.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. And so I attended grade schools all the way through in Ephrata, and then junior high and high school in Seattle, Washington.
Okay. And what was the name of the junior high?
Jane Addams Junior High School. Right. In fact, it's interesting because right across the street from it was a 9-hole golf course, and that's when we got started playing golf.
And so is that when how did your dad get into the golf business?
My dad was graduated from college with a degree in journalism, and I had an uncle who bought the Lake Tahoe Tribune. He hired my dad as the publisher of that. It was at that time a weekly newspaper, and they
What year was that?
that happened probably in about 1958.
So did you live in Lake Tahoe?
Just
for a
by
while?
no, I never. I graduated from high school in
Okay.
Seattle,
All right.
and they moved. In fact, they moved to Lake Tahoe in 1959 when at the same time I graduated from high school.
But your dad was not in the golf business when you were in high school?
He taught golf at a driving range in Ephrata to make additional money.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he play golf in college?
I did.
No, did he?
Oh,
Your
he
dad?
did not. No.
So
No.
how did he learn? How did he pick up golf?
My grandfather was one of the founders of the Astoria Country Club, and he was as a junior golfer, and he grew up and continued to play golf at Astoria. Was a very good golfer, probably a 2-3 handicap at Astoria Country Club as a young man.
So, but you lived right across across one of the houses you lived in was right across the street from a golf course.
That was
Where was that?
that we
Oh,
we
that
lived
was
in
Seattle.
we lived in Seattle, and in Seattle I was about 5 blocks from Seattle Golf Club.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up as a caddy. I started at the age of 13. I started caddying at Seattle Golf Club, and that's where my primary interest in the game really developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I learned all my golf from my dad. My dad was a very competent teacher, instructor, and I learned my golf from him.
you probably know Fred Couples from Seattle.
I know he is. That's right.
He was our next door neighbor at Mission Hills for about 10 years.
Oh,
We
was he?
became really good friends. He started out on a public course, didn't he?
He did. Fred started out at West Seattle golf course, and I started out at Jackson Park. So, and there's another PGA Pro Tour professional, Don Bees, was also at Lincoln High School where I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you went to Lincoln High School, huh?
Yeah.
Play any sport? Did you play golf on the golf team?
I played on the golf team. I was too slow to play basketball, so I played golf, and we were at the golf course every day. I virtually every day after school.
Remember your golf coach at high school?
Golf coach, yes, I do. Let me see. He was our chemistry teacher. Boy, you're testing me there. Can't come up with his name right
that's
now,
okay.
but he was a great guy.
Yeah. Did you have any other favorite teachers in high school?
No teachers that ring a bell.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any special girlfriends in high school?
Well, I had quite a few of them, I must admit. I don't think any of them for very long. So it was. We were so focused on golf that girls kind of got second place.
When you was there a local movie theater you guys would go to, like on Saturdays, matinees, or were you?
Seattle was a pretty good sized city, so we didn't. We didn't spend. It was too big a town for us to be able to move freely around in the evenings.
What about in Ephrata? Did you have a local movie theater there when you were growing up?
There was a movie theater that became the center point of the high school there, but of course I was gone by that time.
Right.
But I still have friends. I still have friends that we grew up with in Ephrata, and I still.
But when you were in grade school, did you go to like Saturday matinees and things like that? Other kids?
Boy, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, back again then. So you're on the golf team. Tell me the first car you drove.
Well, the first car I drove was probably my folks' car, and that was a Plymouth, a '57 Plymouth. And about the time I turned 16.
What color was